The high school football season kicked off early this year, but some prepared for their first game not with a playbook, but a rule book. We found out what it's like to be a part of the game wearing stripes and a whistle. Before classes start, students from Blaine and Coon Rapids High Schools already show school spirit.
I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win!
Early on, you're really trying to focus on fundamentals of the game. Give yourself the best chance to be competitive on a Friday night.
Second guess your preparedness a little bit. Do we cover all our bases, cross all our T's, dot all our I's? Do we have our depth chart set?
With both teams looking for their first win of the year, a third team has a different objective.
Perfect game would be one where, it's what everybody talks about, where you stay out of the play, you call what needs to be called. The proverbial, the coaches don't know you're there, the fans don't know you're there.
Their uniforms don't include shoulder pads or helmets, but the game couldn't be played without them. Rolf Erickson remembers what it was like wearing a chin strap and cleats for St. Louis Park High School and then at Gustavus Adolphus College.
I've always liked competitive sports, contact sports, getting in there, messing it up. And so now as an official, my job is to make sure it doesn't get too messed up.
After he took off his Gusties jersey for the final time, Rolf didn't want to leave the gridiron for good.
I saw an advertisement at the school. They're looking for Little League baseball umpires at age 15. I said, I'll give that a try. And then one thing led to another. Then I'm starting to do youth hockey, and then I did high school and college hockey. And then I started doing high school and college football.
Over the past 3 decades, the game has changed.
There's been a major emphasis on making sure that the players lower their strike zone so that they're not hitting their opponent above the shoulders. That's been the biggest thing over the last few years.
But Rolf's role stays the same.
Player safety is number one. Number two would then be just to make sure that both sides get an even shake, that there's one team's not getting an advantage over the other team.
With fans on their side, players and coaches feel the glory of winning. Officials see no such celebration for a job well done.
We're going to make a call, and of course one team's not going to like it, the other team thinks it's the greatest call ever. Over time you get to know that you're not going to please all the people all the time.
But the excitement remains.
As you get to be a veteran official, when you get to crunch time, you want those big plays coming your way. Come on, bring it here, and let's see what happens, and we'll get it right.
Although it's not always friendly banter, these coaches and officials say they try to reach a common understanding in an effort of fairness.
So if something happens I disagree with, I'll make a comment quick, more so to the side ref on my side, but for the most part, it's a long game, and we got to just carry on and move on to the next play.
If they're on par, on task, they make sharp decisions, authoritative decisions where they're not second guessing themselves. I think the kids really respect that. And if they're always talking to the kids about easy off the pile or hey 34, you got to watch that was a little late, I think that's where Rolf and his crew is really good.
I think that I'm easy to talk to. They may not always like the answer they hear from me, but back in the day I might have been a little more aggressive. Over time I've settled down a little bit. Understand that I can get further with them by talking to them rather than shouting, and that goes a long way.
Obviously we'll disagree with some of those calls, but at least they are on point and they're going through due process of letting us know what they thought.
He does a really good job explaining about how his crew works and how they work together as a team. And
after the fumble recovery, while the ball was dead, person was fouled on the defense, 15 yards from the dead ball spot.
He says outright that if they make mistakes, that they're human beings as well, so just ask any questions we have, but they're going to keep the pace of the game going.
They're a part of the game they love, but after seeing amazing plays, referees learn to recognize but not react.
Sometimes, it just doesn't faze us. We've seen so many of them, even at this level, that you've seen one, you've seen a lot of them. Every once in a while, one really amazes you, but obviously you can't show it outward. We might talk about it afterward. Did you see the catch this kid made? It's not that we don't recognize it, we just can't act like fans. A great referee, first I think you have to have an understanding of the game. I'm not saying you had to have played football, but it certainly helps to have played.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty, replay the try.
Number two, you got to be dedicated and understand. I said earlier that it's not a full-time job, but it's pretty close. You can't just walk out there for a 7 o'clock kickoff at 6:30 without any prior preparation. And above all, you have to understand the rule book. If you don't understand the rule book, you're dead.
After 30 years in pinstripes, Rolf says he's not close to throwing his last flag.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I'm still fairly able to get around the field, and even though the kids are considerably younger, I can still keep up with most of them. So I don't know, 6'8", who knows? 6, 8, 10 years, who knows? If it got to the point where I couldn't get up and down the field, then that would be an indication that I need to leave. And then once the game became no longer fun, I'm not to that point yet, but if it got to be a grind and no longer fun, one of those two things would cause me to leave the field.
Living in Plymouth, Rolf has a wife and 2 daughters and a day job doing loan and lease resolutions for Wells Fargo. But from August through November, his part-time job takes full-time preparation.
First, there's a review of the previous week's game, the Friday night game, Saturday game. What unusual plays happened that I need to bone up on the rule. I always do what ifs. You know, we had this happen, but what happens if it happened like this? Then what will we do? Get into the rule book, read maybe a section of the rule book every night. There's a case book that you can read that has more detail, interpretations for the rules that we read. Then we get together as a crew prior to the game and review some of the stuff that happened the week before that we either did well or need to improve upon. So there's something going on every day of the week.
If refs are prepared and they know the style of the team's play and they've maybe watched a little film and they know what they're getting themselves into, what type of game, then that really helps the outcome.
Rolf credits his colleagues for ensuring the right call is made.
We all get together. If someone saw something different, they have an obligation to step up and give you information. Did you see this? Did you not see that? And then it's up to the calling official to decide whether or not he wants to stay with the call.
And when the pressure's off, his friends with whistles make each game enjoyable by sharing laughs on and off the field every Friday night.
This is my 30th season in high school football, and for the most of those years I've been with the same group of guys, so it's year in and year out working with the same guys, so it's the camaraderie of the crew that keeps me coming.
When the clock hits 0, Rolf and all refs wear a different hat.
Oh yeah, they'll let me know. You're not wearing the stripes tonight, yeah. I think my wife and my daughters say I'm sort of by the book, you know. They'll remind me this isn't a football game, you know. Rules are meant to be bent and all that kind of stuff. You can't treat us like you would a football coach or a football player, so I have to learn to keep the two separate.
While fans continue to show concern about his eyesight, Rolf offers these reminders.
Well, first off, I think it probably goes without saying, we walk in to that game without any care whatsoever who wins by what score. We don't care. As I mentioned earlier, we just want to make sure that we ensure that both teams get an even shake and that we protect the players.
Face mask, offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
We're not perfect. We make mistakes. Sometimes we don't have the best look at the play. We got 5 officials, there's 22 players on the field, and we don't get to see everything the way we should. We'll see things on the video that we never saw live, right? Sometimes the people in the stands have a better look. Sometimes the coach has a better look.
There's so many things throughout the course of a game that we're in control of, and we tell our players that, you know, what officials do, you're out of control of that.
We not love refs, but very much appreciate the work that they put in, and it's not worth the pay that they get, but without them we couldn't have football.
I just hope that they feel that we as officials gave them a fair shake and that they had fun playing. I don't want them walking off the field thinking that somehow they got gypped out of a call here or there, and that we allowed the game to get out of control to the degree that it was no longer fun. Then we'd probably not have done a very good job that night.
Blaine took home the win that night with a score of 39-13.